We have seen now an argument from the president that is about trust, and this is how he lays it out against Governor Romney.
There's no more serious issue in a presidential campaign than trust. Trust matters. You know, you want to know that the person who's applying to be your president and commander-in-chief is trustworthy. That he means what he says. That he's not just making stuff up, depending on whether it's convenient or not.
How is he using that argument to advance the cause? Well, hey, you can't trust what you're going to get that's going to ultimately lead to economic recovery under the Republicans?
I think that the president is, as the race gets narrower and narrower, we start focusing on smaller and smaller places, smaller and smaller numbers of voters. You see that become a very resonant argument, right? We're talking not just about the economy, but the economy in the Midwest. We're talking about the economy in Ohio. On the integrity issue, on the trust issue, Mitt Romney this week went to Defiance, Ohio, and told a group of 11,000 people, Jeep is about to move all of their production overseas. I read that somewhere. Jeep is going to move all of their production. Not at all true. And it's okay for a candidate to make a flub, but to not correct it, to not say, I was wrong about that. The candidate went back. The campaign was asked, are you sure the candidate actually meant that? Because that doesn't seem to be true. No response clearing that up from the campaign. There's been a truthfulness problem with the Romney campaign that connects even to the very basic issues like the economy in the states where it most matters.
And Carly, this election is a fundamental choice, and I think the trust issue links closely with the economic issue. Romney is almost run as a product. It's like if you're selling a car, you want air conditioning, I'll give you air conditioning. You want rich Corinthian leather, remember those old ads? I'll give you leather. Romney is saying, you want right wing in the primary, I'll give you that. You want centrist in the election, I'll give you that. And the auto rescue is a good example where he was clearly against it, and in the debate tried to suggest that he was for it. And I think it's entirely appropriate that the auto rescue has been so important to Obama running so well in Ohio, because it's really a choice. Either government should just sit by and let the market do its thing, or government can come in and correct certain market outcomes and prevent catastrophe. That is the kind of choice we face in this election.
That's really underappreciated is what's happened in recent Ohio politics. And looking at John Kasich there, the last time I spent that much time looking at him talk uninterrupted was during the fight over union rights in the state. He and the Republican legislature there stripped union rights. There was a huge backlash in the state. There was a referendum on it. They lost by 22 points. And then they were going to try to get rid of half of early voting. They took that off the table themselves when they saw the backlash it engendered. There's a very, very organized progressive and centrist movement, I think, in Ohio because of the kind of governance that Kasich was bragging about there. There's another side to it that I think really is going to affect Ohio's organizing capacity. It's why I think Ohio's leaning more blue than it might otherwise be.
Winning that question, but not by a lot, and it has always amazed me because the country wants to. They're not happy with Washington. But I want to go back to your demographic question here, right, which is, what makes Ohio different from all the other battleground states and all of the other mathematics, if you will, from the Obama campaign is that it's the state that demographically doesn't fit what they're trying to do, right? Everything about what they're trying to do in every other swing state is about Hispanics, it's about gender. Not Ohio. Ohio's different. Why does Romney think he can still win Ohio and catch up? Because the demographic group he performs best with nationally is white men. The demographic group he is underperforming more with in that state than any other battlegrounds, white men. Auto workers in that Toledo to Akron, northwest part of the state.
And I think the reason for that is, A, what Rachel mentioned, which is the fight over union rights, where a lot of counties that had voted for Kasich in the election swung overwhelmingly in favor of the unions in that referendum. Secondly, again, the auto rescue, which makes a big difference in that quadrant you talked about, which is white working class voters. And Governor Kasich dissed Michigan, which is, I suppose, what you do when you're governor of Ohio. I was up there this week. Michigan has had one of the biggest drops in unemployment. When Obama took office, Michigan was a mess because of the auto industry. They've had a huge drop of unemployment, even though they're a little bit higher now than Michigan. And I was struck that Governor Kasich suggested that everybody was for the auto rescue. No, they weren't. Most Republicans, with the exception, by the way, of President George W. Bush, who let it happen with actions he took, were against the auto rescue. So I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but people just don't want to take responsibility for where they stood on that issue.
But how much of this is a problem in terms of how people feel, Rachel? We see more economic optimism in the country, and yet people are still feeling like the Obama record is lackluster, and you look at the recovery, still not feeling like it's robust enough.
Yeah, and you see it just in
smart.
the raw consumer confidence numbers, right? You see consumer confidence trending up. You see the unemployment rate trending down. You actually see the deficit dropping year to year. You see things that are going in the right direction. People have to decide if they want to switch horses and go with a guy who's promising a fundamentally different way to go, if he's sort of an economic austerity, more European-style way of going, or whether you think President Obama is turning this thing around. And that's the fundamental decision people have to make.